What's up? How's it going, everyone? I missed my intro, but hey, here we go. Here we go. All right, there we go.
There you go.
All right, so welcome in, everybody. This is me and Curtis from Skull Aquatics. He is my last guest on my last live stream ever for this weekend.
Yeah.
But welcome in, my friend. How's your day been?
It's been busy. It's actually still warm enough here that I had to mow the grass.
Yeah, I probably got a few mows left. Maybe run over the leaves a few times before we put everything in for the winter.
Yeah, I hope it's my last, but I'm betting it's not.
Yeah, I probably got at least a couple more.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that. We have quite a few trees in our yard, so usually I'm doing something different this year. Instead of bagging them up and sending them out, I'm just gonna mulch over them with the mulching blades with the mower. And I guess the leaves are good for the grass. What I hear too.
Yeah, that's what I've done for like 20 years. I just mulch them up.
Yeah, it's not like a ton of trees, but it's enough work that it's going to take a lot less time if I just mow over them. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. I've done it for a few years of bagging them because I've lived in this house since 2019. And I decided, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. We got rid of half the trees in our yard. And then after that, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to mow everything over.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yep.
Chop it up and let it be fertilizer.
M&C says don't count on mowing till December.
I hope not.
But thanks for coming in. It looks like we got a good group of people already so far. I'm showing 3. We got Jeff. We got Lake Missoula Aquatics, Ben. M&C, thanks for coming in. Stephen P. So far, that's all I see. But as an introduction, like I've been doing the last several streams, why don't you introduce yourself to anyone who doesn't know you? And I'm sure a lot of the YouTubers already obviously know you, but go ahead and give us a little bit of introduction about yourself as much as you want and how you started the hobby.
Well, my name is Curtis. I'm from Western Kansas. I live about an hour away from the famous Dodge City in Boot Hill.
Okay.
In another direction, I live 45 minutes or so from the Dalton Gang hideout.
Okay.
People have heard of that.
Okay.
So I'm out here way out in the middle of nowhere.
Out in the country, right?
Out in the country. I mean, 6 blocks north of me, you're in a cornfield.
Okay.
So
nice and quiet, probably just the way you like it, right?
It's nice and quiet till the tornadoes come around.
Yeah.
Which I'll stick this story in here just because my newest neighbors, they've been here about a year.
Uh-huh.
They moved from the East Coast to the Western Kansas. And I'm driving home from work and it's windy and dirty and dust blowing everywhere. And I pull up in the driveway and the tornado sirens go on.
Uh-huh.
And you can see the tornado about a mile north of my house.
A lot of cornfield and open area, so I can see that.
He comes out and he's like, "Those are tornado sirens, aren't they?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they sure are." He's like, "Well, what are we gonna do?" And it was like, "Well, I don't know about you, but I'm gonna go in the garage and get a beer and I'm gonna sit on my tailgate and watch it." So
you know, I can see myself doing the same thing unless it gets, to the point where I need to get safety, but that stuff kind of amazes me too.
Yeah, if it was close, I would worry about it. But,
yeah,
you could see it off in the distance where it was going. That's it.
I've seen like maybe some funnel clouds here and there, but I've never actually visually seen like in person a tornado before. So that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I've seen it. I'm
not going to go storm chasing or anything, but
no. But I grew up here, probably an hour from here. My mom still lives here. She's 87. I got 2 older brothers, both disabled.
Okay.
So a lot of people are like, you didn't go to the class, you didn't go here, you didn't go there. Like, well,
This is
I
why.
can't, I can't just take
Up
off
and
all the
leave.
time,
Yeah.
because one brother has Parkinson's, the other brother had a stroke. My
Okay.
mom's 87. So I get out when
Priorities. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. I
I get
get
out
it.
when I get out when I can.
Hmm. So have you been to, I guess in a nutshell, in your position, how long have you been in this position for your living estates as far as going to any aquashellas? Has that ever happened in your past few years or no?
Yeah, I've been to Aquashella. That's where I met Vibes.
Okay.
I met Stephen P there,
Okay.
and Jenna, and KG Tropicals, and Simply Bettas, and a whole bunch of
Well,
other
that's cool.
people.
Well, that's really cool.
It's a
I'm
fun time.
yeah, that's what Vibes. He's really trying to get me to go, and it's still kind of up in the air. I just have to really get into it, and it might be like one of those last minute decisions.
I know it's a trade show, but I met so many people that aren't in this fish fan.
Yeah.
That they're huge on Instagram and they're huge on some other platform. And then you walk through like the saltwater and you're like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Because
Uh,
you're like, man, I really want a saltwater tank, or I
it
really want
really gets you thinking, doesn't it?
to get you thinking. It's hard to not do it.
Yeah, and then I think that would be my thought too. But then I would just come back home and be like, you know what, I'm okay. But in the moment, when you see all these beautiful fish and even like smaller tanks and stuff, you could think to yourself, I could buy like a saltwater kit or something simple, but still hasn't happened for me yet.
And you'll walk by the booth that has the small tank that has the smoke coming out of it from the misters for your lizards or your frogs or whatever,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, that'd be pretty cool to have in my living room.
When I
And
was a kid, I had an iguana, but I didn't have very much luck with iguanas, and I moved to fish, and then it just kind of went from there with that long break in between. But yeah, I remember seeing those myths and stuff on how they take care of different reptiles and stuff.
yeah, I've had rodents, lizards, all because of my kids.
Uh,
Birds because of my kids.
yeah, I've never owned a bird, and I quite frankly can honestly say I will never own a bird, no matter what my kid
Yeah,
says.
none of those are my favorite. I like these because they stay where they're at, and I
Uh,
know how to take care of them.
seems like M&C said that Curtis really wanted to see his fish room.
Yes, I've been there.
Was that be in person or that be like on YouTube?
No, I was actually there.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
I've actually I've actually met the man. Super
Hey,
cool
Henry.
dude. Super cool
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. He seems he's been on several of my live streams. It's been nice to have his company in here.
Yeah. He lives about 4 hours east of me.
Okay. And did you meet him through Aquashella or is it just through YouTube?
I met him through Foxy Fishes
Oh, okay.
because every
That's
summer she does her birthday's in the summer, but she does this big giveaway in the summer, like a Christmas. What do they call it? Fishmas in July.
I like it.
So I put some stuff on there to give away, and one of the winners was Mike from M&C.
Oh, wonderful.
So we've kind of had this relationship going on ever since, And then I was going to Kansas City to see my daughter because she lives in Kansas City. Well, he lives a couple hours south of Kansas City, and I told my wife, we just shot down the interstate to Mike's house.
Yeah, might as well while you're at it.
Yeah, we saw him, met him, took him some longfin green dragons and some gadias, and
That's wonderful.
went back up to Kansas City. That trip we went to Des Moines, and I was supposed to meet Sketty Nona, but the whole
Okay,
house.
so he's up that way then too, huh?
Yeah, my son lives in Des Moines.
Okay.
But, Sketty and her husband were sick that week. someday I'm gonna go meet Fish Fan Link Matt because I know that town.
You know that. Hi Henry. I think I said hi to you earlier. Thanks for coming in, man.
So, Henry,
But yeah, I think I remember when I very first joined the Fish Fan Link. I remember his name being mentioned, but then I never knew like exactly who ran the entire network of the Fish Fan Link. And I just found that out again because Jose and because he actually asked that question. And I believe it was Mandy that referred back to it as that being Matt. And I was like, oh, well, I should know that name because that's my brother's name. But I kind of forgot about that he was kind of the one that runs the whole entire thing. So,
yeah, Liquid Zoo. He's got a Patreon that you can join to help support him. And
okay.
he does some cool.
Look into that.
He does some cool stuff. If you're going to a show, you can get your channel ID.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I'll show you. Hang on. Hang on.
Holding. We are holding. Hydro Aquatics says, hope everyone's doing good.
You can get one of these.
Oh, nice. So whenever you go in, they'll make you one just like that with the logo on it and everything, huh?
You have to order it from him, but it's like
okay,
$10. But when anybody scans that code, it brings up all of your links.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. Then that's good to know.
Yeah, it brings up your email, your YouTube, Instagram.
And you just contact him through that Fish Fam website, or is it through?
Yeah, just Fish Fam.
Yeah, I'm doing well, Hydro. Just found his new jewel cichlid in my tank. So fun watching parents protect them. I have never owned jewel cichlid, but in my history of actually having the breeding process that I do, Hydro, it's actually amazing to I was very nervous to actually watch the female because when I first started doing it, I was, and I still do it this way when I take the eggs and put them in a tumbler and then release them in their own tank. But when I first started doing it the other way, where I just keep her in her own tank, I was nervous because I was nervous when I first started doing it because they would come out of her mouth. Well, then she started, putting them back in her mouth.
You thought she was eating them?
Yeah. And she's just protecting them. And then I realized that was happening because I kind of took that fish out. Well, then I was like, all right, so maybe I'm just being a little bit overcautious. So then the next time it happened, I did the same thing and I watched it happen again. But then I realized that some of the small fish were actually swimming toward its mouth to go back into her mouth. So it really is an amazing thing to see the female, like she won't eat them at all. She'll just protect them. And that's just in nature, I guess. So that's cool.
And it's different with all fish because I have some that I have to pull the female or I'll never see a fry,
Mm-hmm. I think that's whenever I first started the hobby back up with my mollies for my community tank, they'll eat their fry too. I've seen it happen before.
Yeah.
So I've always put them in like small little breeder boxes that are kind of like in a V shape, and then the fry just kind of drop through the little slit in the bottom, and that way I can take the fry out and put them wherever I need to go. But I don't worry about that too much anymore because the tank's big enough, and I have river rock in the tank now with the mollies that if there's any fry, I usually get like a few here and there, but they're small enough that they'll survive.
I used to breed those in my saltwater tank. That's what fed my lionfish.
Yeah, that was the first. Who was I? Was I talking to? Did you pop into my live stream, or is it somebody else that told me that you can have mollies in salt water? I can't remember.
Oh yeah.
So that was the first time I learned about that too, and I was kind of amazed. And it might have been on Brandon's live stream actually. We had a discussion on that through the chat that you can have mollies in salt water. So that's amazing to me.
Mm-hmm. You just have to like drip acclimate them for a while. I mean,
yeah.
I've seen some people do it for an hour, but I usually do it for like a whole day.
Okay. So if you're at home the entire day just doing this and that, you just kind of slowly introduce it as time goes on.
Yeah. And they actually breed a lot better in salt water.
Like more fry, you think, and then
there's more production. That's
interesting. Maybe when I get my saltwater tank, I'll have to try that out.
There you go.
That would be my first step. But I think I think if I were to do that, I would have to first get used to the saltwater tank first. And if I were to do that, I would probably buy something and just have a couple clownfish with a sea anemone or something in it.
It's not that hard. I went down the whole gamut of you need to have all this equipment, right?
Yeah.
Calcium reactors, a lot of things people don't know about, like kalkwasser is calcium, but it's powder,
Yeah.
but you mix it.
I heard about calcium too.
You need to do all of this stuff, and by the time after years pass, I had a sump with a skimmer in it, and I had live rock and a return pump and a light.
And that was it.
That was it. All that other stuff I was luckily able to sell to other people who thought they had to have it. So
Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah, I feel like it's something that really isn't that difficult once you look into it. And like you said, and all the things that you mentioned just now, that once you get everything set up, and it's really not that hard to manage.
no, it's basically keeping your salinity
Yeah.
even. And that's not real hard to do.
Yeah, I think that was one thing I heard as well. I don't know a whole lot about salinity, so I think that's maybe the one thing that's been driving me away from it, because I just haven't looked into enough information myself. So
Yeah, you can buy a hydrometer or a refractometer to measure your water. It's very simple to do.
okay.
And it's like anything else. You need to add water or add salt.
So like when you do water changes for saltwater, then do you how would you do that? You know, someone wanted to start a saltwater tank today. You know, what would you recommend, you know, for your water change?
I would mix the salt to the level I want, which would be 1.025, 1.026,
Okay.
and do my water change, and that's exactly what I'd put back. And then when I top off, I would top off with RO.
Okay.
Because the salt and all the chemicals, all the calcium, iodine, molybdenum, all of that that's in salt water,
Yeah.
it doesn't evaporate. It's still there.
Yeah, because salt just stays in the system. That's one thing I learned too a while ago. Is like whenever you put like aquarium salt in just your regular water changes, you don't like add like your whole tank worth of salt, because it's still in the tank. You know,
It's still there.
yeah. So you don't want to over salt something per se, unless you're medicating, I guess, in a sense. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I've learned to add very little salt on water changes if need be.
Yeah.
But that makes sense though.
I hardly have any salt in this room. I have a little bit of, if I have to salt the tank for medicating reasons, I use the reef salt.
Okay.
And
Do you buy that in the store, or do you buy that through Amazon, or how do you get that?
You can get it at Petco. Just get a box of Instant Ocean.
Okay.
It's like,
And you use that for your fresh water and everything too, right?
it's really good for if you're brine shrimp hatching, but it gets pretty expensive.
Okay. I wanted to run a comment up that I missed here. MNC says, I noticed today I have lion sea fry. Is that lion sea? Okay. I don't know what that is.
That's a rare goodie that I took to him when I went to see him.
Uh-huh.
It's named after Dr. John Lyons.
Oh, okay.
It's from Mexico. You'll see a lot of, here's a word for you, xenotocas.
What was the word?
Xenotoca.
Oh, okay.
There's like 5 different ones, and they're all pretty rare to get a hold of, and that is one of them.
Okay. I might have to start looking information up. You know, that's the benefit of doing some of these live streams and getting to know like all these group of people and fish keepers. Is like every time I go on these live streams, I always learn something new.
Mm-hmm.
And then I find myself going back and watching, you know, I know that's kind of rare that some people don't go back and watch their live streams, where I actually myself do that, you know, especially on like, if it's like on a, you know, a day where there's not a whole lot going on, or an evening, I could be like, all right, well, what did Curtis say? Or what did Eddie say? Or what did Brandon say? Or Jose? Or, you know, or these last several days, it's like, you know, that makes a good point, you know?
It's like, I think it was one of your live streams we started talking about all different food you can feed.
Yeah. And like, I was
you're
just mind blown. I was just like, man, I've just been doing pellets and flake food for the most part. And people are saying that they've been throwing human food in their fish tank for years. I'm just like, really? Like, that's possible?
Oh, yeah. I feed green beans and potatoes, and I fed watermelon to the plecos the other day.
Yeah. And they eat it up,
Oh, they tear it up. They
seeds
love
and all.
it. No, the seeds you got to get back out of there.
Okay. They're a little tough for them.
You don't want to do it every day, but
yeah, right. They're more of like a treat sort of thing.
yeah, it's a treat. Throw them a chunk of watermelon or a chunk of cantaloupe. I do green beans probably about every 3 days.
Okay. Yeah, because they kind of thrive on basically like a plant-based diet, so
Yeah.
that makes sense. Hi, Mom. Thanks for coming in.
I was kind of surprised
Thank
because
you.
I used to watch this guy. His name's Jeff Rose, Jefroz. I know him. He lives in Des Moines where my son lives. But he did this Will Plecos Eat This series.
Okay.
And he fed tofu and anything else. And I was shocked then because he was feeding potatoes. And I was like,
Yeah.
potatoes? And I watched him do it. And they tore it up. And I was like, I have half of my food sitting in my refrigerator upstairs that I need to eat.
And you're just kind of like, well, let's see what happens, and
Yeah, let's see what happens. It can't hurt. And then when I do green beans, I do every tank. And all the mollies, all the goodeias, all the lemians,
okay.
all the guppies, all of those will eat the green beans.
As long as you're not throwing in like your local Maine Moon or Chinese food or whatever, I guess you're good.
Yeah, I've never tried any of that. It's just basic stuff.
Yeah. So what is your main fish that you have currently? Because you said you have like you said about 30 tanks.
Yeah, about 30.
Okay. So what is your main drive behind your hobby right now? Like, what is the one thing that keeps you motivated to keep doing what you're doing?
I'm always looking for the weird stuff.
Okay.
Like we talked about, I've been down the Cichlid Road, the Guppy Road, Saltwater Road. So now I'm looking for fish that nobody's seen before, or they're very hard to get.
So where do you look? Where do you look for these fish then? Do you look online, or you just look at other local fish stores that you just happen to see at a rare occasion?
I look online, and over the years, in the past probably 10 years, I've found some breeders
Okay.
And I've begged them to do Instagram, YouTube, something, and they're like, no, this is what I do.
Huh.
I breed fish and I sell them online.
And that's it.
And that's it. They won't have anything to do with us, basically.
Yeah.
There's one in California. There's one in Hawaii. I know a guy in Atlanta. There's a guy on the East Coast, like Massachusetts, I think he's in. And I just randomly look up like rare fish on YouTube or on whatever, and I'll see a fish, and then I'll just email those guys. You guys ever seen this? And they're like, so and so has it. And then they'll give me his email, and then there's another person.
So it's like going through like a chain, like a grapevine, and eventually you find the right person. You're like, hey, I have a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah. And I've done that many times, and I buy it off of Aquabid. Aquabid is, I don't know what you want to call it. It's difficult.
Okay. Well, when you say difficult, are you saying like eBay difficult, or are you saying like, is it a whole other realm?
Saying who to trust.
Okay.
But go on there like today and look at it next week. Look at it the next week. Look at it the next week. And see who the breeders that are consistently on there, consistently getting reviews.
And
you can buy some outstanding stuff. And once you get to know that person, then you're in the loop, you know, then you can, well, what do you know about this guy? And what do you know about that guy? And they'll tell you. I mean, they're just people.
They're just people just like you and me, or these people that are like reputable and have been doing it for a long time, or are just all over the map?
There's somebody like me who just sells out of his basement, almost all of them, or their garage or wherever.
Yeah.
And
Now, have you sold fish from your basement then?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Hundreds and hundreds.
So you have I'm assuming your own LLC or your own company and that sort of thing then, or is it just selling them?
YouTube and word of mouth.
That's probably the best way to do it, really, just to help the community out, or, you know, someone else who's been like for you, if they're looking for something specific that they want, you know, and then you say, hey, I know a guy who knows a guy, then here we go.
Yeah. I get quite a few emails that says like M&C Aquatics gave me your email address.
Okay.
You know, I get stuff like that. And M&C's got to mention Greg Sage because, yeah, I don't know if you know who Greg Sage is.
No.
He was the president of the American Libraries Association for years and years.
Uh-huh.
He's one of the top breeders in the United States.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He lives in Denver.
Okay.
And I go to his house almost yearly.
Oh, okay. So you've seen his whole operation over there and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, we go to Wendy's every time I go there.
It's kind of like a regular thing. It's nothing fancy. It's just one of those things that you do.
Yeah, we just go to Wendy's.
Keep it simple.
You know, he runs a very, very old-fashioned fish room. I mean,
okay.
Box filters.
Are we talking like gravel filters and everything?
Yeah, box filters.
Box filters too.
The incandescent lights that has the screw-in light bulbs.
Oh wow, that is pretty old school.
Yeah, but you walk in there and you're just amazed because he's got his Odessa barbs are probably the most famous. If you look up Odessa barbs,
okay.
If you look those up, when you walk down in that basement, that's the first rack you see is like, I don't know, 500 or 600 Odessa barbs.
Holy cow.
And they are the brightest red orange you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, it's probably like one of his staple points then for coming in, because that's kind of like, you know, when you first walk in and you're just kind of like, you want that amazing feeling of like when you first walk into a store, you know.
And that's the only fish I have not bought from him.
Makes sense.
I have everything else that's in that room.
M&C said Greg's a mad scientist.
He is. He makes like his brine shrimp hatchery is like a big, like a 12-inch flower pot.
Uh-huh.
Because he doesn't like, we would do a can of brine shrimp, you know, how you buy brine shrimp in a can. He would do that. He would go through that in a week.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, that's really, really cool to find out. It's just talent, you know, in years and experience, and just knowing how to do all that stuff it just amazes me.
Yeah, and it's like we were talking earlier about, if I get a tip from here and I get a tip from there, when you walk through that room, you forget more tips than you found.
Easy to do in there, I bet.
Yeah, because I looked at his sump filters, because he's got a whole rack that's on sump filters. And we're thinking
all DIY and everything, right?
They're all DIY, but we're thinking he's got bio balls, he's got this, that, all this stuff in there. No, he don't. He's got a bag of polyfill in there, and that's all that's in there.
That's it.
That's it. And he'll yank about 3/4 of it out and throw it away and throw another big blob in there, and that's the filter.
That's crazy.
And you look at the tanks above, and you're like, there's 500 fish in these tanks. And that's the only filter that there is.
Yeah, and only this here. I mean, that's the thing that runs it all.
Yeah. It's kind of like his box filters. It's crazy.
Jeff said that he's been bugging that Skull kid to pick up some Odessa bars for a while now.
next time I'm there, I'm gonna have to take a weekend. I usually do it in the day.
Uh-huh.
I'll leave early Saturday morning and go up there and hang out, and then I get back home at like 1 or 2 in the morning. But
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna have to take it like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday because J Rock's up there
Make a special trip for a weekend then.
and Geek Boy is up there.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to hang out with J Rock, and then I'm gonna have to go hang out with Geek Boy, and then probably all three of us will go over to Greg's house and
Plan a trip.
plan a trip. Probably next week I will.
My mom says that looks like you have a nice setup. Do you want to kind of get a little rundown for us, if you would? You don't have to like get up or show it every single tank, unless you want to, but you can kind of give like a sort of rundown of what you have and what you got.
Well, and that's the bad part is when I say them, you're going to be like, what the hell's that?
Yeah. Because you're always looking, like you said, you're looking for the oddball fish. So you might have to start Google searching some of these things during this live.
Yeah, you might. Right when you come in the door, I have a tub that I recently set up. It's got 2 goldfish that were rescues that are like 6 inches long.
Okay.
The Petco called me about.
Petco actually called you.
Yeah, because the manager's actually been here. She's been over here a few times.
Okay.
I've got a 60-gallon that has Jeff Kane's Black Moors in it. It has the Stan Schubel green guppies in it, and it has super red plecos in it.
Red plecos.
Super reds. Okay.
Nice.
I have the Nezzy swords, Nezzicodal, Diphosphorus Nezzicodals, and there's green dragons in there with them breeding out. Next to them is the Limia nigra fasciata, the humpback limias.
I don't know what those are.
All the limias I'm going to say is they're all from Haiti or Dominican Republic.
Okay.
Underneath them is some orange swordtails with some more super reds. 2 tanks of trout guddiids, Iliodon furcidum. The Cracodon audax, El Tabasso, the Black Prince.
Yep.
There's 2 tanks of Limia tigers. The little tank is blue diamond shrimp.
Okay.
The one up on the top is Amicus splendens, the butterfly guddiid.
Okay.
The guy you can't see is Yucatan sailfin mollies.
Okay. I know what those are.
This one is Limia perugiae. This one is the knife livebearer.
Okay.
These are some of Elfish's guppies, so that I have something to sell here in town.
Yeah, that makes sense. Why not, right?
This is the banded killifish, which is a native fish.
Which is a what?
It's a native.
Okay.
It is native in the Northeast and southern part of Canada.
Oh, nice.
Just to see if I can breed them.
First time you've done that, or?
Yeah, I've never tried
Okay.
not the native killies. Those are the ones that M&C was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They're the lion's eye. These are the blue-tailed guddiids. These are from Jeff Kane, Diphosphorus millerii.
Mm-hmm.
They're the swordless swordtail.
Okay.
They're
And even if they're males, they're swordless?
Yeah.
Okay.
All of them are, but they're beautiful little fish. These are the tequilas, Zuna connecticus tequilas.
Did you say tequilas?
Yeah. The Zuna connecticus tequilas were extinct in the wild. 2019, they were reintroduced because hobbyists had them in their tanks.
Oh, so
And
it must have been like a word of mouth that since they were, not around, that people were like, hey, I have one of those. And it must have got around then.
They actually came back from a guy in England.
Okay.
He was a machinist in England, and he had them in his basement fish room. And since he's the only one that had them, they took him and his fish to Mexico,
Oh,
to
wow.
to the university, and they bred them outdoors in ponds until they got enough of them. Then they reintroduced them into the river that they cleaned up, which is at the river is at the base of Mount Tequila. It's a
Oh,
volcano.
wow. That's quite an amazing story.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. Except when they're in breeding colors. You know, usually like cichlids breeding colors, they go boom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's how it always is here.
These guys go dark black.
Huh. That's so bizarre.
Pretty
You
cool.
think it'd be the opposite, you know?
They're dark black with a yellow or an orange tail.
Okay.
Next to them is 2 tanks of Xenotopa doidroi. That's one of the most popular Dadiid in the hobby. There's least killifish,
Okay.
Florida. There's a tank of Malawi shrimp from Indonesia.
Mm-hmm.
And then just some because I got them for free. There's sunrise high fin platies. They're bright orange with a ridiculous high fin.
Yeah.
They're not rare at all. Then I have my green dragon breeding tank that has the black bar endlers. And what else? Oh, these guys I just got this week. These are the wild green swordtails from Mexico.
Oh, nice. They were shipped from Mexico then.
They were shipped from the importer in Florida who got them from Mexico.
Okay. What was the ones you said that were from Indonesia again?
Those are the shrimp.
Okay.
Malawi shrimp.
Malawi shrimp. Okay. You got quite the setup. And what is your smallest tank, and then what is your biggest tank?
My smallest right now is at 5.
Okay.
And the biggest would be the 60-gallon.
Okay. So your whole entire setup is relatively small, but very useful for what you're looking for and how you want things done. So
yeah. And I lie to myself all the time about I'm going to downsize. That ain't happening.
You just enjoy too much to find the next rare fish to try to get it into the next tank.
I was at Menards the other day and I was this close to, they have a 10-foot rack in there. Metal rack, 10 foot, 7 inches.
Okay.
But it's deep enough I can turn all these 20s on in.
Oh, just instead of horizontal, just like front to back.
Yeah. And then if I do one there and one there, I have nothing on this, I have nothing behind me. I can put my 115 there. and I have a 6-foot, 200-gallon I can put on the other side.
Huh. M&C says you got a 115, just not set up.
Yeah, I got it from him.
Oh, okay.
That was
How long have you known him, if you don't mind me asking?
Huh?
How long have you known M&C?
Oh, man. Year and a half or so.
Okay. Hi, Skippers. Thanks for coming in.
I've known Vives for a little more than 2 years.
Okay. And I think I've known you for 6 months.
Yeah, probably.
Something like that. But
Yep.
yeah, M&C says 2 years. So with all your setup, how do you a lot of your tanks look like they have live plants in it. Is that how all your tanks are then? Is mostly live plants, or is it all live?
They all have live plants.
Okay, so you don't have filters in them at all then?
I have filters in every one of them.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm not like Mr. Jorge.
Going all filterless, right?
I mean, like this 20 up here that has a limit of tigers in it. There's probably 200 fish in that 20-gallon tank.
Okay, that's a lot.
I mean, they're 201-inch fish, but
yeah,
that's still a lot of fish. So there's 2
Yeah.
big inch filters in there.
So with about 200 fish in that, in a 20-gallon, you said, right?
Yeah.
So how do you manage a water change with that many fish in that tank?
I do at least 50% a week.
Okay. Because I'm sure you have a system, for doing it this long, but was it nerve-wracking when you started having that many fish in that tank when you started doing it?
No, not really, because Well, we kind of left my history off, but
Oh, right. Yeah.
you know, I've had fish since I was 10.
Okay.
When I was walking to, not whatever they call it now, middle school, I used to walk to junior high,
Okay.
and I walked right by the fish store. Who's one of my best friends now. He's got to be 80 years old now. But we set up a deal when I got in my 20s. I was breeding all of his guppies, mollies, swordtails,
Yeah.
fish. It's a good deal for me, good deal for him.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where I learned a lot of things.
Yeah. That always helps to have a buddy, you know, to kind of go with, you know, in with you with the fish hobby and kind of learn from each other. I think that's extremely beneficial.
Yeah, I didn't have the internet.
Yeah. I mean, me and Jose talked about that and how he grew up, and he's like, well, we don't have the internet like we do today. So it was a lot different growing up back then, you know?
Yeah, it was books and magazines, but I could call him on the phone and say, hey, you know.
Have you seen this before? And have you seen, you know, what do you do for water changes, or what do you do for this fish or this circumstance, this disease, that sort of thing?
Yeah, and he would go on vacation and he would close his store, but I would go by there every night and change water and feed the fish.
Okay.
I still talk to him every now and then.
Huh. That's amazing. He's still doing well, I hope.
I gotta say he's 80
Okay.
or 85. He's up there. Yeah, he's all right.
That's good. Yeah, I was telling Jose last night, and I might have brought up on some of the other streams too, but like this was all like a one-man job here. So it was all me. It was just going on the internet and going on YouTube and then getting to know the community a little bit. And that's kind of how my hobby started. So in a nutshell, so I didn't really have a buddy to fall back on and say, hey, you know what, you know, it was just me finding things out and going to local fish stores and doing things to the best of my ability. So I think that's what's nice to hear about people that's been around the hobby for a long time. And it's neat to hear their backstory of how they got things started.
He was the guy that had I think he had 6 saltwater tanks in there, and he was running all of them on a hang on the back.
Okay.
I mean, he was selling at them, but he was still having a saltwater tank with just a cheap hang on the back.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What filters do you have in all your tanks? Are they just all sponge filters, or are they?
Yeah, no. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I still have 500 gravels.
Okay.
Rest are sponge.
Okay. Now, if you were ever to, have you ever tried to not run the filters, or are you just you're pretty much set where you're at and you're happy how things are working?
I probably could in some of them because there's enough plants. I could get away with it, but there's so many fish in them that I don't want to chance it. And a lot of these fish, like the black prints, those are $100 a pair.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Yeah, so that's not something you really want to change and completely aquascape and change the whole way of things. And
yeah, they're not Petco guppies, so
that makes sense.
they're going to have some filtration on it.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I'm kind of a fan of and I'm sure that you probably have similar tanks as well, that whenever you have a deeper substrate, especially, you don't really want to disturb that substrate, because that's pretty much a lot of where your beneficial bacteria sits in as well. So it would be tough to kind of start over.
That's like the under gravels. I don't actually gravel back them.
Okay. You just let everything sit.
I don't know if you've ever had one. It has the
I have not. I only know of one local fish store that still does the under gravel filtration, and it's about 30 minutes from my house. But other than that, I haven't done it, and I haven't seen it since I was a kid, like myself.
It has the uplift tubes, right?
Yep. Yes, they do.
You can pull that elbow off the top with your air stone, whatever you got in there.
Yeah.
I will pull that off the top, and I pull the end off my python, and I stick that hose down in that
Okay.
uplift tube. And I do that. I do each side every 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
I don't disturb the gravel because I disturb all the plants.
Yeah, and you need that. for the plants to keep living, right? So
Yeah, and it's like I got some ridiculous crypts in here that I don't know what I'm gonna do with.
you're getting overgrown a little bit.
Yeah. Well, this 55, I'm not gonna show that, but they're almost to the top of that 55. I don't know. My dirty ass. That's one crypt.
Let me see here. All right. Yeah, I can see it.
And that's another crypt.
they are definitely lush, my friend.
I could probably get away with shutting that off, but we're not gonna.
Yeah. They would probably thrive, but then it's kind of like one of those, like, once you're used to it, it's kind of like with me, like I've been running sponge filters forever. And the only thing I keep telling myself, some of the gravel that I have on mine, I want to change to sand, but I've just had so much time into it that, like, I just don't want to disturb the substrate in itself and just leave it the way it is, because it's just developed that bacteria in it that it needs, as opposed to lifting it all up and potentially causing an upset.
Oh yeah.
So
what I love about it is whether it's a sponge or it's an under gravel, is I can take a cup, plastic cup, and scoop some of that gravel out. I can start another tank.
Yes, yeah, instant cycle too.
Just instant, yeah.
Uh-huh.
It works so good.
I think that's like one of the amazing things too about the hobby. Is like there's so many different ways that you can instant cycle a tank, from even just buying things in a bottle or just taking like used media. Like that was one thing I learned that I didn't know about starting the hobby either. It's I didn't realize, because I thought there had been this whole process of cycling a tank and nitrogen cycle and this and that, but as time progressed, there's just so many different ways to cycle a tank like instantly and be able to be safe with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I did with a friend of mine whenever he started up his 29-gallon that he bought. And I just gave him some sponge media from my tanks. I said, here, take this.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. And I don't know if you do it, but I do it. All of my spare sponges are in these tubs or they're in a tank.
Yeah, I do something similar. I still have hang in the backs most of the fish room, other than back here on these two setups. Everything's run on sponge, and then my hang in the backs, I have 3 of them currently running down here, and they all have sponges in them. Just in case, if I ever have a tank that, if I have a worst case scenario, knock on glass, that if I ever need to start up another tank, it's available. Or just like now, like I just told you, that I was able to help someone else start a tank up, and I said, here, just take this sponge and take it with you, and I'll just go get another one or something.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what we were talking about before this stream is I've got some fish coming.
Uh-huh.
But I have like 12 10-gallons sitting around here. I'm just gonna like pull that sponge filter and put it in this one, and pull that one and put it in here, and I'm gonna pull the ones out of the tub and put them where I pull the other ones. And I'm gonna give them a big squeeze and throw a rock or some moss or whatever in there, and we're rolling in today.
Yep, and that's how easy it is too. June says that June says that you got extra FX6 running just in case. So it never hurts to keep filters running too. Even Mandy, they says, think bacteria in a bottle is still a crapshoot at best, and usually it's more like dead bacteria and acts like a kickstart, and then it's nowhere near immediate. So I think what Mandy was saying, what Mandy was said is I've kind of done like a bit of both. So like whenever I started a tank, I use that beneficial bacteria in a bottle, and I think what is more reputable, in my opinion, is the Fritzheim 7. As opposed to anything else that might be cheaper on Amazon or whatever. I've had the best luck with that stuff without using other bacteria from other tanks. But like, for example, I've on the bigger tanks I had set up, I did a mix between using Fritzheim 7 and sponge filter already used media, and I've never had a problem. Now, could I have not used the Fritzheim 7? I probably couldn't have, but it was just kind of like one of those peace of minds that I've done it before and it's worked, so I did it again. But
I've never used it, so I don't know.
Oh, and MNC said turbo start. So that was one thing I started my 125 with. Is I used some sponge media, and then I used. I heard that I've had good luck with turbo start because I used that for my Frontosa tank, and not a single fish has died from that tank either. And it was just straight up turbo start with a little bit of sponge filter media, but it wasn't a lot. So I think it's expensive though. That's a bad thing. So, but since the turbo start, I've always used a lot of just sponge media, and I've always like we had talked before, I keep sponges in my hang on the backs, and you keep all your media in your pond there. That works. So,
Yeah.
To each their own, right?
Each their own. That's what
But
I would say. I'm not going to pick on anybody that has a dirted aquarium, an under gravel, whatever you want to run. If it's working for you,
yep.
sweet, good for
Yeah,
you.
it's you don't see the under gravel filter. It's like one of those things that don't get talked about too often anymore. But it's very neat to see because that was one thing that was kind of like I remember I was kind of laughing a little bit whenever I went to that store for the first time. And that was the first time I had seen under gravel filtration since I was a kid. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what because I kind of forgot about it,
Yeah.
And because after learning the hobby, I was like, well, I'm just going to do a hang in the back. It seems pretty simple, just change the media on the cartridges in the back and whatnot. And then, the sponge filters, I really wasn't, I really didn't like them because of the whole eyesore sort of thing. But then, the fish room, that's the cheapest way to do it. But yeah, I was just like, holy cow. Like, I remember having those as a kid, and that was pretty much the only option you had for the most part.
Well, I'll tell you a story. I had these trout idiots. They're from Great Sage. I had them in a 55, which I shouldn't have because there's only 6. So I think they actually couldn't find each other. There was so much room for 6.
Okay.
So I put them in a 20. And they started chasing and everything, but 6 months later, no fry. Never.
Wow.
And it was like, you know what? I'm done with you guys. I threw them in that 20, I threw them in that 29 with that big crypt and that under gravel.
Mm-hmm.
Less than a month later, I got fry everywhere.
Must have been the atmosphere, in a different atmosphere.
Well,
different.
It's such a seasoned tank. You know what I mean?
It's such what?
It's such a seasoned tank.
Yes. I think that does make a difference too.
They took right off. And I was just like, I'd try that. The ones in this tub, a lot of people don't know I have them. They're I probably can't even say it. Zenencia onca.
Okay.
They're the jaguar light bearers. They're silver with black spots. So they're spotted like a jaguar. I couldn't breed them at all. I could not breed them. I put them in this tub out on my patio in the sun. Boom, I got 60. Boom. So I brought them in here. It's like I got to put them in the tank. And it was like, I don't know that I want to take them out of the tub because I'll screw it up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny how like fish react to certain things that happen. It's like I've learned that also with breeding processes too, that if just a change of temperature or a change in like, even though the tank is seasoned, even if you just drop the temperature, 3-4 degrees, it can act like kind of like a spring rain per se. And that's what kind of spurts the breeding process. Or like what you said, that can kind of happen too. And it's just, you could try. And then as soon as you do something different, all of a sudden it just works.
Yeah. So I try to leave it alone once I got it to work.
Yep, I agree. Mandy says, don't get me wrong, I use the Fritz products, but I've always used cycled media since I got the first few tanks up and running, but it needs something to feed the beneficial bacteria so it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't.
Yep.
You're right.
M&C runs under gravel. Swiffle's in the house. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Mandy also says that under gravel loves the under gravel filters for beta tanks and other fish that aren't fans of flow. So yeah, I've heard that too. Because you can't really have a whole lot of movement with beta fish. Don't require a bunch of cleaning. Probably wouldn't use them for like plecos or goldfish.
I would.
You're the under gravel king.
There are ways to make them flow go a little small gravel.
Yeah.
You want to use the bigger gravel from like a Home Depot, like the pea gravel.
Okay.
You get more flow and pull through it, and then put on 3 times the air that you thought you needed.
Huh. So that's good to know then. If you ever decide to have change Mandy's mind.
I just had the air cranking in them, and it pulls.
Now, what do you have like a one like a certain air pump that you run throughout your whole entire fish room then?
I do have the big one. I just never have hooked it up.
Okay.
But the ones I use, and they're the quietest ones I've ever found. Not that one.
Yeah, M&C also agreed that like pea gravel works best, so that would probably work as well.
This is like the quietest air pump.
Huh. And do you have a lot of those run in your fish room then?
Yeah, they're hanging all over in here.
Okay.
And they're like 25 or less on, and this one's adjustable.
Okay.
It has that dial on the back.
See, that's nice though, because I don't see too many adjustable air pumps like at your normal fish, Petco, PetSmart, that sort of thing. They're all just one setting and that's it.
Yeah, if I ever get done moving everything, I'll hook my big ones up, and then I'll have like 25 of those that do something with it. But that one works really well, and it's really quiet.
Do you run like that pump, to multiple tanks, or is it like just one per tank? Or
there's one of those like on this 29.
Okay,
that's what's pumping through that under gravel.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's neat to see someone run under gravel. It's nice to see someone in the hobby because I don't hear about that too often. So it's nice information to hear about.
Yeah, if I just had like display tanks, a couple of display tanks, that's probably what I would have.
Just because you've been doing it for this long, you might as well keep doing it. If it works, then great.
Been doing it for this long, I don't have to pull the sponge out and clean it every. I drag the python out and stick it down the
stick it down the tube.
Stick it down the tube every now and then, and away we go.
Super all your plants stay where they need to, and they're obviously still growing. So
yeah, they love it in there.
And you've transferred plants into other tanks, and they've done just fine, I'm assuming, as well?
Yeah, I've shipped a whole bunch of these plants to people.
What's your plant of choice if you were to recommend a plant to a new fish keeper that's easy to take care of?
Crips all day long.
I've heard that too. I asked Brandon that same question, and he said he likes Anubias.
Yeah, it's all right. I haven't had a whole lot of luck. I think it's just something with my water.
Okay. Now, do you have pretty hard water where you're at, or is it a little bit on the softer side?
No, it's hard.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of how it is here. I mean, at least where I live, and I have well water personally, and I'm kind of like just outside the city water, but it's like in the high 7s to almost 8s for me.
Yeah, mine's 7 to 7.5.
Yeah, I think the last time I got mine, it was like 7.8.
There are times my TDS out of the tap is 400 plus.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty hard then. That's what Brandon says. He's got hard water too. Anubias eat that stuff up. So I was correct on that.
I've never really tried them. I've had it a couple of times, but I got some crips from this guy in Texas I've had these crips for like 15 years.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've never that's another thing I eventually will do, and I'll probably have them before saltwaters. I would do a planted tank, and if I ever get to it, we had a really good discussion with Branton on my other live stream that he got a lot of good information on planted tanks because that's all that he does too. Mm-hmm. And it seems like that's what a lot of people are doing nowadays because my Uncle Pat, his wife, she's wants to do, or she's now doing the planted aquariums too, and that's just because it's easier to do and easier to maintain and take care of. But like we said earlier, like to each their own, I have African cichlids, and most of those, a majority of plants, you can't keep plants in with African cichlids. So
Yeah, you're lucky if you can keep a sword plant or something going.
Swiftle was wondering where does the debris go on the underground filter and stays in the tank. So maybe you could reflect on that a little bit.
It does go under the filter, but if you siphon through the uplift tubes, you'll get a lot of that out. And eventually, and I've heard Corey say this, is you let that debris build up, you eventually end up with a dirted tank.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's nothing bad. It's nutrients. Your plants are just going to love it. I know I broke down on these under gravel filter tanks, and I didn't think I was ever going to get the plants out of that.
They were probably just so attached to everything and just
they wove right in there, and they were loving it down there.
So they were going within the different, what platforms, I guess I should say, of the under gravel. Like they were just so stuck to it that you almost had to like yank them out, probably. See, Brandon was saying that some of the problems they hit him with too much light.
Well, that wouldn't be a problem with me because I'm cheap.
Fair enough.
As you can see, most of mine are shop lights.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the cheap way to go too. I mean, that's I have several tank lights for all my tanks, but they're only on down whenever I'm down here doing water changes or live streams. Other than that, I keep all my lights off. And a lot of these lights in here are like you have like the shop LED lights, and they're almost plenty enough lights to where I don't even turn some of these tank lights on even when I'm doing water changes, because the house lights are just enough to do what I need to do.
I have lights on 24/7.
Okay. And you just keep a certain amount on in the evening then when you're...
I wish I could remember who I heard say that, because have you ever turned your lights on and all the fish scatter?
Uh-huh.
So it's like these come on, and then those come on, and then those come on, and then these come on. And then they all cycle back off. But right before they cycle back off, I've got a night light that comes on, and I have a tank here next to the screen that comes on.
Okay.
So I can walk in here at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's not dark. It's not lit up.
Yeah.
It's not lit like it is now, but you can walk around here and not trip over stuff.
That's nice though.
So I can walk up to the tank and I can kind of see in the middle of the night, so they're not in the dark. And
yeah, I feel like if I were to change the lighting in here, I would probably do something like that, especially if it came down to a point to where I mentioned this in my previous streams, but like my wife, she usually tends to feed my fish whenever I'm not here in my work schedule. But if I had to feed my fish during my work schedule, like I'd be coming down here at like 3:30 in the morning, 3:34 in the morning to do it. So if that ever were to be the case, I would probably do something similar to what you have. Is I would always, if I had to come down here, I would just leave your minimal lights on for the nighttime.
Just rotate them. I want to say it was an angelfish breeder, because he noticed if he walked in the room and just flicked the switch and all the lights came on, the angelfish instantly ate all their eggs.
Oh my gosh.
But once he started having some room lighting in there, he didn't have that problem anymore. I think that's when I started doing it, but it's been a while.
Mandy said she usually overfeeds, and that's why you get all the algae. Sometimes it's easy to overfeed, and I feel like that's even myself, I'm guilty of every now and then, just because it's hard not to at times. But
Do you feed every day?
I do feed every day except Sundays, but I went from whenever I first started, I used to do it twice a day, but now I've changed it to once a day. When I did it twice a day, it was very minimal food, but I didn't have as good of luck. And so I just changed it to feed a decent amount in the beginning of the day, and then that's it. But of course, my fry, I got to feed 2 to 3 times a day. because their metabolism is so high that you have to keep up with that. But I don't feed anything on Sundays, just to give them that time to break and digest everything and kind of recycle their digestive system.
Yeah, most days, most weeks, I feed every other day. But
Okay.
one day in there, I'll do flake or pellets or whatever. Say like Monday, Tuesday I'll do brine shrimp. Then I'll skip
Okay.
Wednesday, and then Thursday I'll do flake, and I'll skip Friday, and then Saturday I'll do daphne. So it's like flake live, flake live.
And I've always heard that it's good to have a mixture for the fish instead of just giving the same food, because it helps keep them regulated in their digestive system. Because even if, like, for example, like the African cichlid, even though their main thing is protein, you should still give them a little bit of veggies here and there just to kind of help with their digestive system and keep them healthy.
Yeah. I'm gonna grab another drink.
I'm going to catch up with chat here. Hydro says use hornwort. It grows fast. Let it grow in one tag and give it extras to cichlids. So that's good to know. I think Jesse, if I'm not mistaken, he might have tried hornwort. I'd have to ask him and see if he knows about that. Manny says if you're using sponge filters, you're using an air-powered, porously based surface area filtration system, right? So underground filter is just kind of a bigger version. Just got to vacuum, not squeeze. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it, the way I understand it too, Mandy. Let's see, what else do we got here? MNC says that Curtis bought one of his huge crypts, divided it up, and got 63 plants. I think that's like one of the benefits, and I'm sure Brandon will agree with me too, that like with plants, it's, I mean, with planted aquariums, if you have multiple aquariums and you're planning to have that, then you can just keep moving your plants from aquarium to aquarium and then just have even more plants. And I think that's kind of a huge benefit to doing that. Hey, Cheryl, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. I've seen you in the past couple other ones. So
when I send plants, I send them in water, just like fish.
Okay.
A lot of people.
You've had good luck with that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you order like a moss, it usually comes in a little, like a deli cup.
Yeah.
Half the time it's brown mush. I send mine in a bag full of water.
Okay.
And nobody's ever had any problems with it.
Even with like, have you ever had any massive temperature changes, I guess, for loss of better terms, whenever you send these plants? Is that ever affected at all? Like maybe like with fish, or not so much?
The fish, I'll use heat packs, of course.
Yeah.
The plants, I'm not sending anything in June and July, probably.
Right.
And if I send them in the winter, I put a heat pack in with them too.
Okay.
But it's even the crypts, I'll put a full crypt in like a 10 by 12 bag, and I'll fill it all the way to the top just so I can heat seal it.
Okay.
So it's submerged that whole time.
That's good then.
And I think that's the key.
And it's worked for you every time then, right? So far.
It costs, maybe what, $2 more for shipping because it weighs a pound more. But
yeah. But I mean, that's worth it for whoever you're giving it to, especially for a good cause, for a friend or a buddy or someone you've met. It's
yeah.
Hey Jeffro, thanks for coming in. Jody P is in here.
I made a comment, I don't know when it was, 2 or 3 weeks ago, about like this Christmas moss that I have. It gets so big, and then I just drag the trash can over there, and just start pulling clumps. I want to say it was Ron from Garage Aquatics is like, "What are you doing? You need to sell that on eBay." Just like, I don't know. I don't have time for that,
Yeah. Sometimes, I don't know. Like once you get overrun with plants, it's probably easy to do. We kind of get a habit of like, well, I could sell them, but then after you get so much, you're just like, well, if I throw some away, it's not a big deal because I'm probably going to have more of this in like a month.
And if I do, it just makes me another job because then I got to bag them a box
Yeah.
and
Yep.
go to the post office. So, if
Hey,
anybody wants any Christmas moths, send me an email.
there you go. Get a hold of Curtis. He'll send you as much plants as you need. Hey, Jose. Thanks for coming in tonight.
I have a bunch of crypts that I need to start separating too. So.
Brandon runs moonlights and has a lot less fish jumping out of tanks at night.
Yeah.
And running into hard and less lesions from running into hardscape. Lessons are sorry if I butchered that.
even just night lights will keep them because
Yeah.
if you think about it in the wild, they have the moon. It's not totally dark. I mean, it is once
they have some type of light, so
in a while it is. So yeah, have some night lights, have something in there.
Mandy says that feed 3 days, skip a day, and I always feed horrible on the fasting days. I swear they look at me sad. That's what it's the same thing that my wife and my wife says, she's like, man, I feel so bad. I was like, I get it, because you go down to like certain, like when you come down here, as an example, when I go to all my fry tanks, you have to feed them, like I said, a couple times a day to keep them up. Because otherwise, if you don't, like if you skip a day with feeding like the fry tanks, you'll see like 1 or 2 dead on the bottom. I guarantee it, because it's happened to me every time, because I've tested that theory. And every time that's happened, if you don't keep up with them, you'll see 1 or 2 dead on the ground.
Or more.
Yeah. So, and like I experienced that recently, because there are times like I actually have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, I would say, no, the fry tank. So 5 tanks that required my fry food. And there was one day where I just completely didn't even feed one of the tanks. It was easy to do, just one of those times where I just missed it. And then I came in the next day and there was, I think, like 2 or 3 of them just sitting on the bottom. I was just like, oh my gosh, you know what? And I just thought of it, and I just totally skipped it by accident.
Yep.
But yeah, that's my wife gets that guilty feeling, and I do too. Whenever going back to my original statement is whenever I'm feeding the fry and I skip the whole day for everyone else. I mean, everyone is just like right at the, like, especially like I call it my dragon cage with all the dragon blood peacocks. All of them are like right up against the glass, and they're just waiting to get fed. And it's just like, oh, I feel so bad, because they want food, but I totally think you have to resist.
Yeah, I actually thought about doing that as like a series of videos, just like 2-minute videos,
Seeing how sad the fish look as you go around each tank and be like, oh.
Just like these tiger lemmias. I mean, I can take, the old redneck that's going to put the chaw in his mouth, that big old, I can throw that in there, and in a 2-minute video, it would be gone.
Uh-huh.
And you can hear them. You can hear them hitting the water.
Oh, yeah. And that's how it is with like a few of these tanks in here. Like as soon as you're getting close to the tank, you can almost hear them pecking at the top of the water, just wanting food. It's crazy.
I thought about it. My wife sits here and she just laughs, because she's like, those fish know you. They're sucking you in.
Yeah.
I'll walk by and I'll look in, whichever one, and they all come to the front. And she's like, yep, you're getting ready to feed them.
It's almost like they know.
They got you.
That's why you've been doing it for this long, right?
Yeah. Been it forever. I wanted to tell you, did you see the tour of Lush and Salty's fish room?
I did not know.
Aquafinity did it.
Okay.
And I'm gonna email Stefan, because he's got a shelf that has all this antique aquarium stuff, like the old diver and the old treasure chest. On the right-hand side of that shelf, that tank that's sitting there is the tank is the very first tank that I ever bought.
That's crazy.
And I was like, there's that tank.
It's like, I cannot believe that's still there.
It was like, to see how old everybody is in the chat, I bought that tank at Woolworths.
Where at?
Woolworths. It was like the Walmart of the 70s.
Oh, okay.
You could go in and buy socks, laundry soap, a fish tank, and you could go to their soda fountain and have a burger and fries and a milkshake.
Wow. That's something new I've learned too. I've never heard of that. That's
If they came back, they'd be super popular today because they're like kind of a cross between a convenience store and Walmart, just in the middle.
okay. Yeah, that would be I'm surprised that's not around anymore then. Wonder what happened to it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Jefferson, he feed everything once a day besides the shrimp. You feed twice a week, and my fry 2 or 3 times a day. So
Yeah,
that seems pretty pretty good for a feeding schedule, Jeffro. Brandon does twice a day, 3 depending on what I'm trying to achieve with said fish. Yep, I agree. Swiffle hopes he gets his spawn of electric blue rams from the 5th spawn. So even this is like the 5th attempt then, Swiffle?
and it all depends on what you're breeding.
Yeah, that is also true. Could be different for everybody.
I was talking. We're not going to mention names. I was talking to a certain person that have bred bettas, and she's like, "I have so much trouble changing the water because if you've ever seen bettas, they're slivers."
Yeah. Yep.
And it was like, put an air stone on the end of it. That's what I use. I use a hose with an air stone on the end of it. Drain the water out. None of them get in through the air stone.
Huh.
Fill it back up. And she's like, "Oh wow, I never thought of that." And we're like, well, I'm not going to tell you that was my idea.
It's just what works for you.
It's just being an old guy, and I'm sure somebody told me that 20 years
ago. Yeah. But hey, like we had talked before, like whatever works for you, and it works best for each individual fish keeper. And I feel like that's like one thing that also amazes me for this hobby is like there's no wrong way to do any certain sort of thing. Like with like other pets and stuff, they have their different things that they can do for their pets, between cats or dogs or snakes or reptiles or what have you. But I feel like with the fish keeping hobby, I think there's a lot of personalization that you can do with the hobby between filtration, between water changes, between setups and what size tanks you have, what fish. I mean, there's just so much out there to choose from. And I think that's what kind of makes this hobby really neat and amazing to see.
Yeah. You should be involved in some of Vibes in my conversation sometime.
Yeah, we got to do that again, man. We got to do that again sometime soon and figure that out.
They're interesting because I tell them, it's like, dude, that Frontosa tank, I could run that whole thing on a 5-gallon bucket. He's like, what? I got an FX6 and I got this and I got that. And it's like, yeah, because you have to. I don't have to. I could do it with whatever,
Yeah, and if it works.
And it's fun because we're friends. And he gives me crap and I give him crap, So.
And that's the fun of it too. If you can get to know someone, and especially through like their YouTube, and like you said, you met him through Aquashellar, right?
Yeah.
So like I think that's kind of amazing whenever you meet people like that around the fish keeping community and go to different events and groups and like associations and fish swaps and stuff. And if you get to know them well enough, you can kind of mess with each other about, joking around and this and that. It gets entertaining, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's just good fun. I think this is good fun. Was it yesterday we had the panel up?
Yeah,
that was fun. I enjoyed it.
Oh, wait, are you talking about with Jorge and everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a couple days ago.
Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was very unexpected. I was just planning on doing, my typical live streams and getting to know each, like I've been doing. And that ended up being a really successful night because even Brandon got back up here and then everyone else joined in. And I was like, wow, we got a whole family feud in here. And it's like catching up on old friends,
Yeah, it's fun though, because we can all share knowledge and we can pick on each other.
Yeah.
None of us are, I'm going to say, mean.
No.
We might say some stuff to each other, but it's all in fun.
Yeah, we're just pulling each other's leg, and that's what makes it good.
Yeah, it's fun.
Have you hornwort, by the way? because he's saying that that's a good that's a good plant for fry tanks for sucking up the excess
I've,
nutrients.
I've had it before, and it grows really fast. But I've also had it fall apart really fast.
Okay.
But and that just might be this super hard waters. It's still growing, but the leaves will come off of it, and it's floating around.
Mindy says if the hornwort doesn't like your water, it'll disintegrate and all its needles into your water, and then it filters and clog everything up. It's like the Christmas tree you don't want to take out until February.
Yeah, that is true.
M&C's never had his crypts melted, so that's good. You said, crypts are pretty hardy.
I cheated and I delivered his in a bucket.
Okay. So that's a plus then. All right, and then he did say or a bucket with grips.
I didn't sort them out for him, but I brought them in a bucket. You probably got some free snails.
I'm a little behind on chat. Let me see if Mandy was saying just offer to send some with every fish purchase. Extra incentive, but if you're not really paying any extra. Are you talking about the plants?
I've done that.
Okay.
I've done that. Just when they email me, I just say, hey, do you want some Christmas moss or do you want whatever? And I just tuck a bag in there with it.
Okay.
And most people are like, oh, hell yeah, I want one.
Yeah. Kind of like a little bonus surprise sort of thing.
And it's like a bag costs me, I buy them in bulk from Uline.
Yep.
So they probably cost me like 15 cents a bag or something. So
that's not bad then. Cheryl, going back to the feeding, feeds 1 to 4 times a day. Discus gets 2 to 3 times. Fry, of course, a lot. Breeders, everything else only in the morning. So, Cheryl, if you're still in here, what are the fish that you feed 1 to 4 times a day, and what is the reason behind it? I'm curious as to your fishing or your feeding schedule. I'm assuming the smaller fish, I would think.
I do that if I'm trying to get them to breed.
Yeah, because that can kind of instigate breeding too, as well, right? If you feed them more.
Yeah, I mean, it's like in the morning I'll hit them with, I don't know, flakes or pellets or whatever. When I get home from work, I'll hit them with brine shrimp.
Okay.
And then at 10 o'clock at night, I'll throw some Daphne or whatever in there.
So maybe that's what Cheryl was talking about then too. Depending on the fish and what the situation is, so that makes sense. Brandon said he's thrown away plants before too, so don't feel bad.
It's just if anybody wants them, everybody knows my email address is just Skull Aquatics. So
okay, at Gmail.
Yeah, Gmail. It's not tough. But, I mean, it might be 3 months from now, it might be spring, but I have a list of fish that I owe people, and I have a list of people that want plants, and I just don't get in a hurry because I have a full-time freaking job. So
yep. There's my wife. She came in the chat like we were just talking about how we're guilty of feeding them, and she said she still feeds them on Sundays. It's the guilt that comes in. You feel bad.
Yeah, it happens. Not my wife. Last time I had to leave town for work, I was gone for 8 days, and I left all the food by all the tanks. It's sticky notes.
Okay. I
came back 8 days later. The sticky notes were still there, and about half the food was still there. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot."
Okay. So
it was like, well, it's a good thing that I have all the plants and everything else in there.
So that worked then.
Yeah. Now I have this guy. He's from Burma, and he works from home, which is super cool because he's out running around all day.
Yeah.
He actually makes egg rolls and fried rice, and that's his job. He makes a ton of money doing this.
Yeah.
Because companies will contact him and say, "Hey, at lunch we want 80 egg rolls and so much fried rice and so much."
Oh my gosh.
So much of whatever.
Yeah.
But since he's my buddy, I can tell him, "Hey, go by and feed my fish, bro."
Hey, while you're at it, help a buddy out.
And he's got a couple fish tanks, so you can trust him. Just set a deal of flake out, and he'll feed them every day for you.
That's fantastic.
And I never pay him because it's like every other week he's like, "Hey man, can I borrow your chainsaw?
Yeah, I mean, you just kind
Hey
of
man,
like
can I borrow your ladder?"
you what?
He's asking if I can borrow my chainsaw, my ladder. He's
Kind of
can I
like
use-
you scratch his back and he'll scratch your sort of thing.
yeah, he's a pretty cool dude.
That's good.
But he can come in here and he's like, "Oh, there's only like 20 fish in here. We only give this much, but there's 200 in this one. We're gonna give a bunch in there." He's smart enough for that.
That's good.
But I let him use my chainsaw and everything all the time.
Yeah, you might as well. I mean, you're like, well, I guess you can, sure.
One of the best deals I ever got in my life.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, who knew that would be even relative to the hobby, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever had turtles before?
I have had turtles.
Okay. Snapping turtles eat all the extra frog bite or frog bit and loves it. So I've never had snapping turtles or any turtles for that matter. But what turtles have you had?
I had the red-eared sliders for a couple of years,
Okay.
and they were just this is another story. Is my wife's a school teacher. I come home from work, and there's an aquarium sitting on my living room floor.
Okay.
It's a 10-gallon tank with 2 red-eared sliders in it. And she's like, "This lady's leaving town, didn't have nowhere to go with them, so they're yours." And I'm like, what? So I actually got one of these big tubs and had them there with rocks, and I had the light on it. Kept them for a couple of years. And a guy that I work with, he's a psycho. I'll say he's a psycho. He's one of those guys that goes to Florida and does the crocodile hunting with people just for fun.
Okay.
Yeah, he's one of those guys.
Okay. Yeah.
And he lives about an hour from me. He's got this whole backyard pond, and all these turtles. He's like, dude, just put them out there with all my other turtles. And it's like, yeah, Here we go. You can have them.
Yeah.
Because they're cool, but
It wasn't something that you wanted to keep, but it was kind of like you come home, like you said, you're like, I don't know if I even want these, like.
Now, if you think plecos make a mess, you haven't seen nothing until you get a turtle.
Until you see those turtles, they make an even bigger mess.
That's like chihuahua in the water.
I don't know too. You say chihuahuas?
Yeah.
Do they make a mess too?
Well, the turtles sure do. It's like,
yeah.
They were cool. Yeah, I kept them. I fed them. They were enjoying life. But this guy's got pheasants and quail and geese, and he's got this whole wildlife thing going out there. So, they're better off there.
Yeah.
They've probably been there 5 or 6 years now. And I asked him a couple days ago when I was at work, and he's like, "Yeah, I still got them."
That's crazy.
They're like the size of dinner plates now.
Oh my gosh. I wonder if they're what size were they when you first had them?
They were maybe a little bigger than a softball.
Okay. So they're not too terribly slow growers then.
No, they're not bad.
MNC, he's talking about Woolworths, about a gumball tank.
You can still find it on YouTube if you look at the video. There's videos on it. You'll just be like,
"Oh, really?"
You'll be like, "That is crazy. That store was around back then."
That is crazy. I might have to look into that. So duckweed, Cheryl says, my Oscars and Severns love it when I clear a tank of duckweed or salvinia. It's like piranhas on a piece of meat.
Thankfully, I'm duckweed free.
Yeah. I guess like we keep saying, to each their own. I mean, like, I don't know. I've never had duckweed myself, but some people like it, and I guess it doesn't tickle your fancy, I guess.
No, and I've had people. I think they're intentionally trying to get it to me.
Okay.
I've ordered fish from them. There's always some duckweed floating in that bag, and I'm like,
That stuff grows pretty quickly, then I take it.
yeah, it's a weed.
Okay.
It's a flat out weed.
I was about to say that, but I was like, it sounds like a weed plant.
Well, then it just covers the whole surface,
Yeah.
so your lights can't get down in there. I mean, if you threw it in your cichlid tanks, you'd never even know it because they would tear it up.
Yeah, that probably would.
But for me, it would take me over quick.
Oh, let's see here. Sketty's coming in. Sketty snuck in again. Thanks for coming in.
I'll have to let Skitty know the next time I'm up there.
Yeah, I didn't no, I couldn't say work schedule, but my life schedule got busy along with these live streams, so I kept forgetting to post it on Jesse's Discord. But I've had a good turnout regardless, so it's been working out really well.
Yeah, if you ever set a for sure time, which I don't know if you can with your schedule.
No, that's what Jorge and I were talking about too. Is like we never have a set schedule day or time because of the way my work schedule works out. The reason I've been doing them around 8 this time is because I've been off work. I took some vacation time from my job, and if we don't use it, we lose it, sort of thing. So, and I didn't use hardly any vacation the whole entire year, so it's just been building up. So I'm just using it at the end of the year for now. So that's why I've been doing it at 8 most of these nights, because I've been having the free time to be able to do it at this time. Whereas my normal schedule, I might work a night shift on a Friday night, but then, next week I'll work Friday days. And then the following week I might be off. So it's never the same schedule. So that's why it's always at different times.
I used to have that schedule.
It's not my favorite schedule, but I've been doing it for 10 years now. So
after all the B shifts and C shifts and all that, I'm finally on days.
You want to do the A shift all the time.
There's probably 6 weeks out of the year I'm on B shift or C shift, but it's mainly covering a vacation or
Yeah.
a project going on or something. It's not regular.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you sort of a question that I've been trying to ask everybody on these last several live streams, and I think I've gotten a good turnout with everybody else, but I wanted to ask you if there was one thing you feel that you're particularly good at fish keeping. If someone were to ask you, hey, if I have a question about something, and not really like general stuff, like we don't want to talk about how to start up a tank or that sort of thing, but if there's something that you had picked up personally that you feel like you've done really well at and someone asked you about it, you'd be like 100% like, yes, I can help you out with that and do well with it. What would that be?
That is a very good question.
Yeah, it's kind of a loaded question. I agree. And I have one myself, but and I've probably said it a few times in my live streams, but if you want to share with your best answer, then have at it.
My best answer right now would be breeding fish.
That's mine too.
It's not plants. I have very simple plants. It's not lighting. I'm not an expert. I don't do CO2. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I know saltwater, but to sit here and say, this is what you need to do with your saltwater tank, I'm not going to do that. I might recommend some things.
Yep.
But if you're struggling breeding some fish, I've bred quite a few. And I was showing my wife, if you have a club, you can get back points.
Mm-hmm.
The Breeder Awards program. And she just looked at me and she's like, well, you'd have had like 1,000 of them by now. And it was like, well, yeah, maybe. But
Yeah.
doesn't count because I've never done it. So.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
That would probably, I'm way better with live bears and like angelfish and stuff.
Yeah.
killifish, I'm pretty sure. Well, I got some, and I got some more coming. I'm pretty sure that I can do those.
Okay.
I've bred tetras and I've bred danios. I've bred a
When
lot of that
you
stuff.
do a lot of the community fish with like breeding and stuff, do you like, like I guess have a specific tank purposely for that reason and just put them just by themselves, or do you just kind of let them do their natural thing with other fish?
You know, so specific tank just to breed them in.
Okay.
And it's the same. Different fish are different ways.
Yeah.
You know, I've done it where you put egg crate on the bottom that's elevated,
Yeah.
and you put your air. Just don't even put a sponge filter in there. Just put air in there for water movement.
Yep.
Get the males and females out of whatever tank you've been prepping them in with brine shrimp and everything else. Throw them in there first thing in the morning too, like before the lights come on.
Uh-huh.
Put your danios, tetras, whatever, first thing in the morning. Lights come on. Within about 2 hours, they're done breeding. You take them back out.
Okay.
And then you should see eggs under there where they couldn't get them. But anymore, I'm pretty lazy. I just do it with mops or some water thing or something. I mean,
Uh-huh.
these killies are probably going to breed. All the eggs are going to fall in the subwasser tank, and eventually I'll see some more. Hopefully.
It's just simple, keeping it simple, right? As easy as it can be.
And it's like the undergravels. I've been telling Smokey, you know who Smokey is? Vibes is co-host on Thursdays.
Greg says that he's probably breed millions of fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have as much experience as probably a lot of other fish keepers have for breeding, but I guess one thing that I always say is just for the African cichlid side, that's one thing that's keeping me to drive me in the hobby right now, is because it just amazes me how the African cichlids breed, and just finding out to put those eggs in tumblers and then monitoring them and then even putting them in their own tanks like we discussed earlier. That's one thing that if someone ever asked me about it, because I've had people come down here, like friends and family and stuff, into this fish room, and they're asking me all these questions, and I can know the exact answer of what I've done. And they asked me, like, how did this happen? How do all these fish? And they were asking me, like, well, where do you get your fish from? I was like, what do you mean? It's like, where do you get them from, like local markets or local fish stores or anything like that? I said, no, these are all fish that I've never bought, except for obviously my presentation tanks here.
Yeah.
So they started, giving me the rundown of questions, and I've answered every one of them 100%. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, one thing that I, if someone were to ask about how to breed African cichlids, that I could go through the rundown of everything, because I have breeder tanks specifically for haps and peacocks, and eventually at some point I'm going to do ambunas, here in the near future. So I mean, it's just one of those things that I'm looking forward to and keep doing what I'm doing, and I've been loving it so far. So
yeah, I love it as long as I can get rid of what I've done.
Yeah. That's my next step. That's why I asked you earlier about if you had an LLC or a company, or if it's something that you just do because out of the goodness of your heart, or out of the purpose of saying, hey, I can give it to this fish store, that sort of thing. So, and that's why the one thing that's been kind of going back and forth in my mind is if I should really start an LLC or an own company of mine, or should I just keep doing kind of like what you're doing, And it seems like it works out for you to not even worry about having a company.
I've thought about it, but if you set it, you can sell on eBay or Aquavid. They're both very easy to set up.
Yeah.
The hardest part is people don't realize the first time you ship a fish, it's difficult, man.
Yeah. I was telling my wife, I was like, eventually these tanks are going to get overrun, and it's going to happen pretty quickly. So I'm going to have to make some decisions here, at least by first of the year, if not sooner.
Your box and your insulation's the smallest part of your problem. It's bagging them, 1/3 water, 2/3 air.
Yeah.
Put something in there to stop the ammonia. Getting it to seal where it doesn't leak.
Yeah, and that's one thing I got to learn myself, because I've bagged fish, but I don't have enough experience to trust myself to make sure that bag doesn't leak. And I'm trying to like figure out the best way to do it. So let me ask you that. Like, what is your technique on bagging fish and making sure that bag doesn't leak and seal? Is you use rubber bands? Do you use staples or like?
I heat seal it.
Okay.
Heat seal it. The hardest part of heat sealing is keeping the air in the bag.
Yeah, and that was my concern too.
But I cheat like normal. I'm a cheater. I'll heat seal 15/16 of the bag, and I leave enough for a tube like this.
Okay.
And I stick the air in there, and I blow the bag up, and I pull that out real fast, and I heat seal it again. And
How
then I
long have you
don't
been doing it that way?
3 or 4 years.
Okay. Well, that's good to know because I might have to start maybe trying that technique then.
Depending on what brand of heat sealer you buy, they're under $70.
Okay.
If you go to Uline, you can buy a box of bags. You can buy bags on a reel. You can buy, it's ridiculous what you can buy, different sizes.
Do you have yours on reels too then, or?
I have the big bags in a box, and I have the smaller. They're like a 4x12
Okay.
on a reel.
And you just get yours straight from Uline?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you order from Uline, they'll send you a catalog. Throw it away so you don't look at it.
Well, we get those at my job too, because once you start looking into it, you're like, oh, you know what? I do need that, you know?
Yeah, you can buy all kinds of shelves and chairs and
Yeah.
who knows what all you can buy on there.
M&C says you'd have problems selling Africans where he's at. Local breeders and fish tourists can't give them away. I've had that problem. I guess not problem. I guess lost better terms M&C, but there's certain local fish stores that I've actually gone to that won't take them either due to the aggression levels because of the peacocks and halves and imbunas because they don't like it. Whereas others, they'll take them. So I get that.
Yeah.
But they sell like hotcakes in Australia.
Yeah, it all depends on where you're at.
Yeah.
You know, around here, it's all guppies and mollies and swordtails.
Yep.
That's why I have 4 or 5 tanks of those. And people say you can't sell on Facebook, but you can.
Yeah, there's probably ways around it. I'm sure if you get a hold of the right person, you can kind of, weasel your way into things, I'm sure.
You just can't.
You have to be careful on the wordage and the verbiage.
That's what I was going to say. You can't say for sale or to sell.
Yeah.
I will put up like a picture of plecos and just put, homebred super red plecos.
Yeah, and that's it. Like basic and simple.
And a picture. And
did that work for you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'll be at Walmart like a drug dealer,
Just like, hey, you got the money, I got the stuff.
I got the stuff. I got the 2 plecos you wanted.
Yeah. Swiffle says he's seen people bag at a fish show and did that with that same thing you said with the air tubes, as he pulled the tube out.
Yeah.
Manny also used a heat sealer as well. Hang the bag so the air stays in, and then roll the top down to puff the bag up, and then tape it down, and then put another bag on the opposite direction and tie the end.
Yeah.
You guys have got all sorts of techniques.
Yeah, and a lot of people you're gonna see are gonna be like, I use breather bags, which I've got breather bags before.
Okay.
People use Gatorade bottles, but if you actually technically get into the USPS rules,
okay,
any liquid has to be factory sealed or it has to be doubled up. So you can send the Gatorade bottle, but you got to put it in a bag.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense because I've bought fish from like for example like Imperial Tropicals and they're shipped to USPS and they're always double bagged. So that must be like you said a thing.
Yeah, and the breather bags you physically can't do that with or they don't work.
Okay.
But and I guess if you don't get caught, you don't get caught.
Yeah, it is what it is, right?
It's like I was talking to Aquarium Domain, Jeremy.
Okay.
And I told him, I was like, dude, you're using a lot of times if I've had problems sending somebody, I don't use the USPS box. It costs a couple more dollars. But
Yeah.
don't use the box. Use a plain brown box. Don't put live nothing on it.
Just ship it down just like as a normal box, and you don't have to worry about it then.
Just a freaking address. Yeah.
But what
And
if they
it'll-
ask you, if you're like go in the store, like do they ask you what's in it?
Yeah, they say, is there anything like batteries, blah blah blah, in there, and I just hit no.
Okay.
But I don't even talk to them anymore because if you use Shippo, or pirateship.com, you can print your labels out at home.
You said pirateship.com?
Pirateship.com. The other one is SHIPPO. I want to say it.
Shippo? Like hippo?
Yeah,
Okay.
but these are websites, and they buy a whole bunch of shipping. See, Zen uses Shippo.
Okay.
I've used both of them. So
Yep.
you go to their website and you start an account, which is basically just your email address.
Yeah, like hippo. Except
Yeah, you put in your size of box. You know, it's 8 by 10 by 10, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
And it weighs 2.3 pounds.
Uh-huh.
And you hit print and you print your label out, and it saves you like 20 to 25% over the post office.
Oh, that's fantastic then. And they just give it to you and you can print it right from your home then, right?
You print it right on your home printer.
Okay.
Stick it on your box. I mean, I don't have a label printer. I just print them on a piece of paper and cut them out.
Okay.
Tape them on. And when you walk in the post office, you go down there to the end of the counter and you just set them on the counter and turn around and walk out.
I guess I figure like the less information they know, the better. But Cheryl says thanks, by the way.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, both of those sites will save a lot of people a lot of money.
So, Mandy says trying to seal the corner after using the airline hose. Yeah, it looks like they had trouble there.
Oh, she put it on the wall. I never thought about mounting it on the wall.
Uh-oh.
I haven't had any trouble.
What's that?
I haven't had any trouble. My hardest part was right when you first get a heat sealer, you got to practice.
Yeah, I think that was something that I'd want to do because I've only used something like a heat gun. So a heat sealer, I would have to have definite practice with for sure.
After I got where I actually had a bag and I had a clamp, and I clamped it up like right over here, and I let that bag hang upside down for like 3 weeks to see if it would leak.
Just to make sure that you're like, okay, I think I got a good practice, and just to make sure.
Depending on what bag you have and how many millimeters bag you have, 3 mil, 4 mil, whatever, you have to make it hotter or cooler.
Yeah, I'm assuming a little bit hotter for the 3 millimeter as opposed to the 2, right?
Yeah, and the 4 mil. And a lot of people take the 4 mil and they fold it over and then they seal it up. So it's a fold over seal.
Okay. So if I was saying heat sealer like for veggies, is that something you could essentially use or not so much?
I guess you
could. Fathom is taking notes in these shipping tips.
Well, Fathom has my number. You can just call me.
So there you go. This is all sorts of information. Like I said before, like all these different live streams that I've scheduled, like there's been so much knowledge and information, like for the chat, for me, for everybody else, my family, and it's been a really good turnout. And so I appreciate you sharing all this information with us.
Yeah, the first box I sent, I actually sent to my daughter.
Okay.
4 bags of water. To see if they leak, to see how long it took.
Okay.
See if the insulation worked. And she's like, hey, the box is here. And I'm like, is it wet? And she's like, no, it's all good. Nothing leaked. They're all double bagged. I was like, what temperature is it? She's like, I don't know. I said, you don't have a thermometer of some kind? She's like, I got a meat thermometer. It's like, well, stab it through the bag and let's see.
Yep. And that was just empty bags, just as a test run?
Yeah, just
okay.
It cost me like $20 to make sure that my crap didn't leak.
Yep. Swiftman was asking what kind of heat sealer.
You can get them on Amazon, but I got mine from Uline.
Okay. any certain brand or anything in particular, or that you know of, or you just look it up, or just go to the Uline and just type in the search bar? Or
Let me grab it. It's like 20 foot away.
okay. Mandy says I bagged up empty bags in 3 different boxes, one tied, one sealed, and one taped, and double bagged, and literally kicked them around my your backyard and let them sit for a week and see what held. So what was your end result, Mandy? Because that sounds like, Mandy, if you've ever watched the first Ace Ventura, that's when my mind instantly goes to at the very beginning of that movie, whenever Jim Carrey is kicking that box around, and he's that's what that reminds me of. Let me know what your thoughts on that. Fathom does say heat sealing Google Uline H163. So maybe that's relative with what you have, Curtis.
That's an H163.
Yeah. So is that what you have?
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go. Between what you see there, the heat sealer, and Fathom. So thank you both. That makes sense.
I grabbed these because they were right next to it. This is the bags on a roll.
Okay.
Uline.
And you just have that hung up, and then you just kind of roll it out, and as you need it.
Yeah, there's these are 4x8s, 750 bags on a roll.
Oh, nice. So that's something that I'm probably going to have to look into, especially if I'm going to start shipping, because I have so many right now, but they're all small. So it's like I'll have to figure out what size bags. I'm probably going to need a few different sizes then.
Yeah, I have those. I've got 6x10s, and I've got like 8x10s.
Okay. You see Eddie came in?
I saw that.
Yeah. Mandy said the sealed bags were the only thing that held. A few of the tied bags did, but mostly failed. Maybe they'll go through that much, but it was just in case. I didn't want to kill the fish. It's always good to do a few test runs, just like you did with shipping it to your daughter. So
yeah. And I had that discussion with Jeff Bellum on the phone one night. It was like, dude, keep going, keep adjusting your heat, because the different millimeters, different thicknesses are going to change. And when you think you got it, turn it upside down and hang it somewhere.
Yep.
And now he's doing it. Elfish is doing it. I didn't know Zen was doing it, but that's cool.
I think that's something I'm gonna have to look into in the near future, or at least to give me some practice in, especially with like a heat sealing. Just see how I, like I said, just do some practice and hang something up, and tricks of the trade sort of thing. So
yeah, it makes it. And if like these smaller bags I showed you, what were they? What are these? 4x8s. I'll do 2 4x8s with a fish in each one.
Yeah.
And then I put both of those 4x8s in an 8x10.
Okay.
And I seal that. So I've used one big bag to double bag the other 2.
Yeah, just in case, that works well too. I didn't think about that. The looks like the 160s are $88 on the Uline.
Yeah, when I first started, I got the 3 sizes of bags and the sealer for under $200.
Okay, that's not bad. Eddie wants hydroponics aquarium and plants. Mandy, you want to do that for us real quick? Eddie wants it. If not, we can look it up. How you feeling tonight, Eddie? You want to come join the live for a little bit?
Sure he does. He hasn't talked to me for almost, no, not even 24 hours, 20 hours.
Mandy's shipped for like 4 times really good, but they're all made it. They're safe and sound, even though one was late. Well, that's always good.
Well, I can't see that.
There we go. Thanks, Seth. There you go.
After you shipped enough, you're going to have 1 or 2 that the post office lost, or they got smashed. Or my longest one to date is 7 days.
Okay.
And they all made it.
That's crazy for 7 days. Then that's a long time without food in a bag.
Well, and I hadn't fed them for like 3 days before that because you don't want to feed them before you ship them.
Yeah, because that would, I'm assuming that due to the ammonia spike in a bag, right? You know, from
Yeah, they'll poop in
yeah.
the bag.
Hey Jesse, thanks for
And then
coming in.
always put the polyfilter in the bag.
All the what?
Polyfilter?
Okay, that's good to know. Hey Jorge, thanks for stopping in.
It comes
Appreciate
in,
you.
what is it, like an 8x8 or an 8x10? And you can just cut little squares out of it and put a square
Yeah.
in each one to absorb the
Okay.
ammonia.
Yeah, I didn't think about that either. Eddie, do you want to come join in?
So someday maybe I'll make a bagging video, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I will.
I mean, I'm not as slick as Dan's fish, but I can get her done. You know?
Well, we've had a really, really good, informative live stream tonight. It's been a good one tonight, and same as all the other ones.
Swiffle wants to know what a polyana filter is. It's just called polyfilter. God dang, you guys gonna make me get up again.
We're putting through a lot of work, Curtis. I'm gonna Google search that and save that for myself too, so I don't forget.
Dang it.
Polyfill and a box filter.
Nah.
And you ship that with your bags too, then? Okay, so harmful organic. So you would put that in with the bag as well, for especially if it was going to be several days.
I put it in every bag.
Okay.
And it comes as this pad, and you can just cut it in like little 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch squares.
Okay. Just to be on the safe side, that way that ammonia doesn't spike while it's in travel.
Yeah, it removes ammonia, toxic metals, all the phosphates, medications.
Okay.
It just
Have
makes
you ever shipped fish or plants or that you like put in a little bit of medication in, like even at all, or not so much? Okay.
I've never put anything in.
Okay. I didn't think so. I thought I'd ask just as a precautionary, like if it was something that
I've gotten bags.
Or,
I've gotten bags that are blue or they're kind of an orangey color.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I've never done it. And I don't use tank water.
Okay. You just used regular fresh water?
Dechlorinated fresh water.
Yeah. Okay.
I've gotten some bags before that I can tell you that whatever was in the net when they caught those fish was in that bag.
Oh, yeah.
You know, dead leaves and on and on.
Dead leaves, everything.
Everything, yeah. I'm like, come on.
It says, I have used polyfill and hang the back filters when I needed to. Yep.
Yeah, here, all over.
That's what it looks like. Just a simple pad to collect the anything else that detritus or anything that comes in.
Just cut a little square and throw it in the bag. And it'll actually turn colors. If you put it in your fish tank, it'll turn colors.
Yeah. Okay. Like we're talking about like a filter color, like it'll darken into like the actual, like what a used filter will look like, or what kind of colors you talking about?
If it turns aqua to dark blue, it's removing copper.
Okay.
If it turns orange, it's iron. If it's bright red, it's aluminum. Bright yellow is ammonia.
Okay.
Solvents and dyes, it turns malachite green or light green. Tannins, of course, it turns dark brown. Organic waste, it turns light tan. So yeah, you can use this in your hang on the back.
Okay. Well, that's good to know too. It seems pretty multifunctional then, for sure.
Yeah, and almost every bag that I get from, fish keepers, not from stores, but from fish people, comes with that in there.
Okay.
And your water in your bag will look a little cloudy, and that's just because that thing is working.
Okay, that makes sense. What about Purigen? SC wants to know.
I've never used it for shipping fish.
Okay.
I
Jeff,
saw this. I saw this
viewer.
years and years and years ago from Rachel O'Leary was shipping fish with it.
Yeah.
And I started shipping with it, and it was just like, I haven't had any complaints, so I'm not changing what I don't need to change.
Hey, Whip, thanks for coming in.
What's up, Whipster? Sent you an email today, brother.
Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Zeolite, how about that, Curtis?
That's another
Purigen, that sort of thing.
Type of thing. Yeah. I've gotten shrimp before that had the little. I want to say that's what it is. It's like little sand granules, but they're white.
Yeah. Okay.
And it works, but the little pad like this, when if I sent you some fish and you're opening the bag, it's so much easier to pull that little pad out and throw it over here.
Okay.
To get the fish out than it is to get those 49 little pellets out of the bottom of the bag.
Okay. That's good to know.
But, it's whatever. It's same as we always say. It's whatever works for you.
Yeah. And you've been doing it for this long, and it's been working, and you've been doing it this long, so why not stop it, right? Well, how much time do you have on your hands there, Sir Curtis?
Whatever you want till the wife shows up.
Yeah, that's kind of.
She probably won't be home till 10 or 11 here, so you got another hour or more.
Well, I think this has been a successful stream. I'm gonna go ahead and post our a link in the chat if anyone wants to join. I'll leave it open for about 10-15 more minutes. We can hang out and talk more about whatever comes to mind, and if anything else happens, or I guess I'd say if nothing else happens, then we'll close the live stream. Sound good to you?
Sure. Maybe we can get that Vibes guy or that Whipster up here.
Yeah.
Or maybe tonight is the night we get Zen on a stream.
Oh yeah, because that's a thing that's been floating around a lot more often.
MNC's here, right? Mike.
Yep. He was in here one night.
I've been on a lot of streams with Mike. A lot of communication with Mike.
He'll try to get your email today, he said.
Yeah, that's fine. Whenever you got time to. I told him I was going to send him some ugly skull stickers.
Where's your banner? You used to have like a banner they hang up on your rafters there.
Yeah, I still got it. I just haven't put it up.
Okay. That other one there, it's nice, but it looks so small, so far away.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. I could throw it up there.
Eddie wants to know the advantage of chemical filtration for a DIY on a budget aquarium keeper.
I wouldn't even worry about chemical filtration if I was a budget. I would mainly worry about biological.
Yeah, I think I think chemical filtration is more of like a personal preference if they really want something to be like 100%, clear, and just for that, added peace of mind, or maybe something like I use a little bit myself, but I don't use it in any of my breeding tanks. And you probably don't use any of it, do you?
I don't.
Yeah, I think it's like a lot of the chemical filtration is more of like a personal preference, and I do. Like I said, I do it on my my upstairs, a couple of my upstairs tanks, but I probably don't replace it as often as I should, and I get more lazy. And I think the longer I go, it's just kind of like, well, I would rather buy like a UV clarifying light. If I really want it to be crystal clear, because I do have that in one of my tanks. But other than that, I just find myself getting lazier and lazier, because if you want that chemical filtration to do its top-notch performance, you almost have to replace it like pretty often.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't
even activated carbon and stuff, like what Mandy was saying, that like you do have to keep up on it, and that's just one thing that like I'm very poor at keeping up on chemical filtration, and it's to the point where I don't even know if I want to use it as much as I need or it should. So
I don't have any.
Yeah.
And I'm working my way to where I'm not even going to use safe or prime or anything.
Okay.
I'm just going to do it the filter canisters, the whole house filter, a couple of charcoal canisters.
Okay. So you don't have to worry about anything. You just take water out and put it back in.
Take water out, put it back in.
I've done that a few times, and I've kind of test run it, and I've never had any unsuccessful times. But it's with well water, you have to be careful, from my understanding, and it mainly becomes to the point to where it depends on the season, because you might get more rainwater, and depending on where the water comes from, it can make a big difference. Like I might have great success for several months, and if I get a lot of spring rainwater or something like that, and goes through the well system or whatever, it might affect it down the road. So I just don't take that risk at the moment.
Yeah, and I cheat quite a bit.
Okay.
Because I work in an industrial plant in maintenance. All
Yeah.
the welding and electricity and all that. But we have a lab. So if I have a question about my water, I don't have any test kits at all.
Okay.
I scoop up a little vial of water and I take it to the lab at work, and that guy tells me, like, you got so much iron, so much calcium, so much phosphate.
Swiffle wants to know about thoughts on the glow angelfish bad genetics where they die fast. So I have an answer on that. It may not be the exact answer you're looking for, but my friend of mine, he got started, and his daughter wanted glowfish, and they were really dainty, and they just had a hard time between transferring over from the local fish store over to their tank. And I gave my buddy cycled media, and I don't know what his water parameters are, but I told him to test it. And I feel like in my personal experience of what he's told me, I've never owned glowfish myself, but I just feel like that they aren't as hardy. So I don't know, Curtis, if you could reflect on that or not, or.
I only know of one person, 3G from Louisiana. He bought a group of them from his LFS, and he had about the same luck. I think last time I saw, he had one left out of the group he bought.
Yeah, he was saying here a while back they all died out on him, but one.
Yeah, and that's what my buddy Tim said too. Is he bought like 4 or 5 of them, and then he was like calling me, like, because he's new to the hobby, so he was calling me and he was like, "Man, they're like almost all of them died." It was like, "Well, take them back to the fish store." But like, I told him the same thing. It was like, I don't have any personal experience, but I've heard other people say that they just don't last long. But I don't know.
After you've been in the hobby, I mean, I get the glowfish thing, but there's so many beautiful native fish and regular fish that you can get. It's just not my jam.
Yeah, I can understand it to help draw kids in.
Yes. That seems to be the staple fish for getting kids to get started in the hobby.
Yeah, but if we're just going to talk angelfish, the angelfish I really want is a pure black angelfish.
Yes.
Well, I've got those.
Well, I know you do.
I'm just waiting on them to start breeding.
You're lucky.
Jose,
You're on the list, Curtis.
I was just about to mention this, Jose, but he was showing off all the fish yesterday, and he's had great success with glowfish. And they look absolutely stunning in his mix of tank tank. So, Mandy says that glow tetras lived over 5 years for me, but the Danos didn't live as long, and the beta I bought only lasted a month. I think some fish aren't meant to be genetically modified, and that could be too.
I've had regular betas only last maybe 2 or 3 months.
Okay. Yeah, I've had the only beta experience I've had is when I was a kid, and even when I had the filtration, I learned about filtration, I didn't have very good experience with, and it's just one of those things I never dived into. No pun intended. I don't think we have a glowfish frontosa. Sorry, Eddie.
I don't know of anyone who would want one.
Not me in particular.
Eddie
It could be a particular batch. You know, you never know where some like.
Eddie
especially
would probably want one though if it was pink.
I think he would. Thanks, Swiffle, for coming in. I appreciate it. Good night. Have a good one.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw your message, Jeff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like it all could be like, I don't know, from the glowfish, you never know where they come from, especially if we're just from a big box like your Petco, PetSmart, that sort of thing. So that's why I try to avoid those. But J-Rock seems to have good luck with them.
Our nearest Petco, PetSmart's an hour and a half away.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
That's how I got my grandson involved. He's got some glowfish, but he just has the.
I'm actually getting ready to set up the first tank for my youngest granddaughter. She's getting her first tank, and of all the fish she wants is Limia.
Oh.
Well, those are some tough little bastards. So
Yes, they are. And that's what she wants. She asked for the Limia. So that's what she's going to get. It's not like I don't have enough of them. I have 2 tanks full.
Oh, boy. There goes Eddie with the tip jar again. Thanks, Eddie. He's really pushing.
I'm still thinking you need to schedule some vacation in June and come to San Antonio. That's where you need to go.
That is also something that could happen. I'll save my vacation time just for you guys.
I get away with about one a year.
Okay.
You know, all the other vacation times going to see the kids or whatever. But I get away with one sneaky weekend.
Jose's got one. He's trying one Glow Angel, Stunning Red. I think he showed that last night, if I'm not mistaken. I think I remember seeing that.
I don't know. I've seen them. They're cool looking.
Yeah.
They're different. They're definitely different.
Yeah, ours had a pink and they had one that was blue.
Okay.
At our local LFS.
J-Rock says, Glow thing is cool for about 3 months and then it wears off fast. And you're like, dang, I got all this glowfish stuff. Then you got the pink gravel and everything and comes with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it just wasn't, glowfish wasn't just my particular pick. Especially when
somebody needs to set up a clown puke tank sometime.
Yeah.
I'm still going to do it. I'm going to do that in an under gravel, and I'm going to sit in front of it for months. Just because. Why not?
Yep.
Be the ugliest tank on the internet.
It'll be something to show for. I'm just
clown puke, gravel, plastic plants.
Heck yeah. Under gravel, filter, and blowfish.
All the way.
I don't want to put Eddie's name on the front of it.
Just for him. Yeah, I guess I just realized how many more options were out there as far as African cichlids, just for my interest, and that's where I kind of got myself into everything.
We've got a local breeder here that breeds a lot of different Africans, and he can't get rid of them.
That's crazy, man. Like, it just must be the location, or maybe just I don't know. That's bizarre.
And nobody here wants them. None of our LFS, they won't take any of them because he's overrun with them and can't sell them.
Yeah, but it's where you're at. If you're like in Chicago, you can't breed them enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just where you're at, what's going on.
Now, shell dwellers and the Leptosoma, those sell real good. Peacocks, haps, and Mabuna, they don't sell.
Huh. Yeah, that's all I got here, besides my Molly tank and one community tank upstairs.
And I think that's kind of why I got into the rare fish. A little rarer than most because I can't hardly give guppies away. I mean, I make people some deals on some guppies, and they're like, "You're kidding me?" And it's like, "No, here's a whole net full." You know.
Yeah.
But then when people want some of these other ones, I'm like, "Yeah, that's $10 a piece." Or like certain plecos, I'm like, "Yeah, minimum is 35 a piece."
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yep.
I just said that the kids love the aquatic dwarf frogs. Got 2 tanks with betas, 1 beta with 1 frog, and a 5-gallon, and 10 with 3 frogs and a beta. They seem happy. Have you had dwarf frogs?
I haven't.
I have.
My brother has, and they killed everything in the tank.
I had them once.
Okay. Good good turnout, bad turnout?
They lived about 8 months, I think.
Okay. That was one thing that did cross my mind too, is having a tank that could have both fish and frogs in it, or frogs and fish and turtles. But I don't know if that's a thing or not that people do.
I've seen it done. A lot of people throw their coals in there thinking the turtles are going to eat them. The next thing you know, you got 100 fish in that tank.
Yep.
Okay.
The turtles don't ever catch them. Be fun to watch them try, though.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, like, what turtles would go well with what fish, you know, if that were the case.
Musk turtles are the only ones I've ever seen people have.
Okay.
The little turtles.
Yeah, maybe with like if you had like any type of tetra fish in there, or they'd probably eat them up too, I would think.
They could catch them, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what's that super expensive turtle. What's the name of that?
The Fly River?
The Fly River. You put a Fly River in with your cichlids, but you probably don't want to pay for it.
Pretty expensive.
Oh yeah, thousands.
Oh yeah, no thanks.
What's the turtles that Corey's got?
Those are the mini musk turtles. Same ones Zen has.
African cod frogs aren't good with others. And then Mandy says bent back guppy colony in with musk turtles.
Yeah, but they're cool. They're cool little turtles.
Bent back guppy colony. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Those are all of her coals that she's getting rid of. No, I haven't seen a video on that yet, Zen. Zen. Haven't seen no videos. Just saying.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the little turtles.
Yeah, they literally do have a little odd shape to them, don't they? Yeah, deformed, yeah.
Okay, guys, I'm going to jump down out of here.
Right.
I just had to come up rest Kurt. Had to come up rest Curtis a little bit.
Thanks, man. Thanks for coming in and stopping out for a little bit. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Hey, have a good night.
You too. See you, Kurt.
See you, Mike.
Yeah, he's good, dude. Yeah.
And you say same way when you meet him in person.
Same chill and all relaxed.
Same voice. And he's like, "Well, look at my pond in the backyard." And then we stood there for another hour. It was a good time. I'm gonna go back.
Good. Well, it looks like I got some things I got to schedule for next year. Then I got to go to Texas to see you and Eddie and M&C, and got to plan some vacations.
We'll see how many people. Jorge was gonna go to San Antonio, and now he's kind of dragging his feet because he's a wuss.
All right.
But I'm sure no local Austin will go. There'll be quite a few people go.
Thanks, Eddie, for stopping by. I appreciate it. Looks like he's heading out too. I think we've had a pretty good turnout tonight. I'm pretty satisfied how things went, just like all the other ones did. And I think we've had a really good night with the everything that you've talked about, and it's been pretty good night. So I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed our first one. I enjoyed the other night, and then I enjoyed this one even more.
That's even better. Hopefully every night gets better as we progress.
Yeah.
And one of these days I really do want to meet, a few of these people I've met on YouTube, in person. So I'm hoping that'll happen in the near future for everybody, that I've met on here. So
And it's fun because later when you see them in the chat, you're like, I know that guy.
yeah, and that's what's nice about it too, what they look like and all that sort of thing. So
Yeah,
then you can start messing with them like you said in chat. So
yeah, like I talked to that guy. We went and ate lunch,
Whip, I am near the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio.
Whip is outside of Chicago.
Okay.
So if you go to the Chicago Aqua Shelter, you can probably meet Whip.
Wasn't because Chicago's only, well, what was the most recent one before this one? I can't remember. I think that was one I missed. It was only like 6.5 hour drive for me.
It was Chicago.
Yeah.
Coming up is Daytona, and then later will be Dallas.
Yep. Okay, so Chicago. Yeah. If there's anyone I should have gone to, it probably should have been that one.
Yeah. But if you go to Davenport, Iowa, how far is that for you?
Yeah.
How far is Davenport for you from where you're at?
Good question.
That's one of the biggest fish swaps in the country.
Davenport is.
When I talked to one of my buddies, they said there's over 1,000 people came through the doors in the first hour.
Holy smoke.
So if you're looking for cichlids, buckos, whatever.
Hold on a second. Technical difficulties. Sorry, everybody. Something else came up. Directions.
Yeah, see, it's about an hour and 40 minutes for Whip. If I'm at my son's house, it's about 2.5 hours with.
8 hours, 11 minutes.
It's worth the overnight trip to
go. Just do it all in the night, where there's no traffic, right?
However,
Whip likes Daytona. Thanks, Sheriff, for coming in. I appreciate it.
I'll have to send you some links to some videos of people that are walking around in there, and you'd be just like, man, I got to go to that. I got to go to that.
Yeah.
At least once, yep. That's what I tell myself is like, I've never made the Keystone Clash. Once I'm going to make it. I don't know which one.
The more live streams that I go on and the more people I meet, the more things I'm hearing about and the more stuff would be like, oh, did you go to the Clash? I'm like, I don't even know what this is, like.
I'm going to go again to the Quad City Swap. I'm going to go to Aquashella again. I'm going to go to the thing in San Antonio.
Mandy's got a double the amount of drive that I have. So, but yeah, the Whip says the Clash is fun. And you've been there, you said, right?
I haven't been there. That's the one I haven't been to.
Okay.
And I'm going to eventually.
It's in the future for sure.
It's in the future. I mean, do you know Foxy and Peplin?
No, I don't.
Oh, Foxy's Fishes and Peplin Creek Aquatics.
Okay.
Foxy goes live every Thursday night and every Friday morning. They're home breeders, so you need to get involved in that.
Okay, I'll have to try to jump on one of their live streams on Thursdays because
very, very knowledgeable. And last summer they had a barbecue at their house.
Oh, really?
In Wisconsin, and I was just like, man, I want to go so bad. I want to go so bad. But, to meet somebody in an exhibition hall where there's a big fish show that's going on, it's totally different than we're all sitting in lawn chairs around the barbecue.
Yeah, just hanging out, eating, having a good time.
Having a good time. And then you get to walk through their 100 tanks or whatever they have of all their food and free cichlids too. Yeah, you're going to have to.
Okay. What about the Quad City Swap? There's like 5,000 people there.
Yeah, that's the one I said in Davenport.
Okay.
Yeah, Yeah.
Apparently, Mandy says I need to get out more because in the fish fan more. There's so many good connections. So
That's what we're
Mandy
doing right
needs, yeah, I said Mandy needs to be on live, cam more on our fish streams.
now. Yeah, there you go. She could be helping us out.
Yeah. No pressure though, as always.
No pressure.
All right, Curtis and everybody else. This has been a fantastic live stream. This is my last scheduled live stream. I have no more scheduled as of now. I start my work schedule this week. So I'll have to figure out a day and time of what I'm going to do. And my next one is probably going to be myself, and then I'll invite others later on down the road. But I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for coming in. You're welcome. It's been a good one tonight, just like anything else. So appreciate it. Curtis, you and I, we will meet backstage for a debrief, and then we will go our separate ways. But I appreciate everyone's attention, everyone's participation, and everyone's information. It's always been a good time when we bring guests in, at least from the last several months, and it's been good information. It's been a lot of fun, and we've all enjoyed it. So I think all these scheduled streams has been a complete success, and I thank everyone for coming in. And thanks, Curtis, as well. So we take care. Take care, everyone, and have a good rest of the night and a good beginning of the work week.
See you.
Uh-oh. We got no sound. There we go.